Okay, so take your accustomed meditation position. And first one does a few rounds of mindful breathing just to settle the mind. Okay, and then one begins by first arousing joy that one has the opportunity to practice the meditation on death, which the Buddha said that everyone, whether a monastic or a layperson, should frequently practice the meditation on death. And he said that the meditation on death is of great fruit, of great benefit, that it leads to the deathless and culminates in the deathless. Okay, now I'm going to state each of the topics and then pause for a few moments after that. And when I pause, then you reflect on that topic, turn it over in your mind. And during the first session, I'll fill out each topic a little bit. But in the subsequent sessions, then I'll just mention the bare topic and leave more for you to examine it. The first main theme in the mindfulness of death is that death is absolutely certain, inevitable, inescapable. My death. The one fact that's absolutely indubitable, cannot be doubted, is that I will die. To reinforce this, I consider that everyone who has ever lived in the past has died. There is none who has escaped death. Think back through all of my own past generations, parents, great-parents, their parents, all have lived and all have died. So I too must die. Even those in the past who had great power, great wealth, great eminence, have died. All these saints with their holiness, all the sages with their wisdom have died. Even the Buddha and his great disciples, with their great wisdom and psychic powers, could not escape the grip of death. How then can I escape death? For me, death is inescapable. I will die. Okay, next aspect for the inevitability of death is that death comes along with birth. When I'm born, death is also born along with me. Death is constantly shadowing me. Death is standing right behind me, like a murderer with drawn sword, waiting for an opportunity to strike. So from this, I know that death, my death, is absolutely certain. I will die. Okay, the third aspect in the inevitability of death is that life is moving ever closer to death. Life is moving irreversibly towards death. It's as if I have stepped into a train. The doors close behind me. And myself and all the other passengers on the train are being carried along to the precipice. And when the time comes, the train will fall over the precipice. So every year, every month, every day, every hour, every minute, every second, is bringing me closer and closer to death. So from this, I know that death is absolutely certain, inescapable, unavoidable. Okay, the second main topic, the arrival of death is absolutely uncertain. First, secondary aspect, the time of death is utterly uncertain, unpredictable. Whether it will be 30 years from now, 20 years, 10 years, next year, next month, tomorrow, later today. I have absolutely no foreknowledge. Therefore, I must be prepared for death whenever it strikes. I can't think that I'm 40 years old today, and therefore I'll live to be 80 or 85. The lifespan is unfixed. There's no guarantee that I'll live my full lifespan. Second, secondary aspect, the place of death is utterly unpredictable. I cannot know that I will die comfortably at home in my bed at a ripe age. Or I will die in a hospital. I might die in my home. I might die while traveling someplace on a highway. I might die when visiting another state. When visiting another country. I have no way to know in advance where I will die. And the third aspect in which the arrival of death is unpredictable, the cause of my death is unpredictable. I could die from heart failure. I could die from stroke. I could die from cancer, from many different kinds of cancer. I could die from failure of some other organ, kidney failure. Please turn off all cell phones and other equipment. Some malfunction of the or disease of the liver. Some lung infection. I could die from automobile accident. I could be the victim in some terrorist suicide bombing. I could be shot by some crazy gunman. Maybe if I'm out shopping and then some gunman comes into the shop and just angrily starts shooting the customers, I could die in that way. So we have no way to know in advance how I will die. So bringing these all together, the arrival of death is utterly unpredictable regarding the time of death, place of death, and the cause of death. Now we come to the third main topic, the third heading. That is, when death occurs, I must abandon everything. I must let go and give up everything. So first, when death comes, I must give up all material possessions. All accumulated wealth, bank accounts, stock holdings, home, jewelry, gems, all the decorative items in my home, automobile, and I must give up all titles and positions. If I'm a doctor, I must give up title doctor. If I'm a president of this, I must give up that position. Chairman of that, I must give up that position. So all material possessions as well as status, power, fame, honors, all must be given up when death arrives. Okay, the second aspect, I must give up all who are dear and beloved to myself. When death comes, if I'm a husband, I must give up my wife if she is still alive. If I'm a wife, I must give up my husband if he is still alive. If I'm a parent, I must leave behind my children, my beloved sons, my beloved daughters. If I'm a young person dying early, I must leave behind my beloved parents, I must give up all other dear and beloved relatives and friends. I must give up my teachers if I'm dying before them. I must give up my students if I'm dying before them. So I must give up all who are beloved to me and move on alone. Okay, the third thing to be given up when death arrives is this physical body that I cling to, that I identify with. And the personality, the sense of personal identity based upon and built up upon this physical body. So I must give up the sense of being Bhikkhu Bodhi. You must give up the sense of being maybe Johnny Wang or Po Wei Chang. Or whatever your name and identity is. And so when death comes, we must give up all material possessions, all who are dear and beloved to ourselves. And this physical body with the sense of personal identity built on the physical body. And since this death can arrive at any time, since its arrival is utterly unpredictable, we should start peeling away our attachments to these things here and now. Or at least recognize that when death comes, we'll have to give up everything. And so we must prepare ourselves for that occasion when death strikes. Okay, so the fourth major topic, which doesn't have subdivisions, when death arrives, when we pass on, the only thing we can take with us are our volitional formations, that is, our mental dispositions, our habit energies, which are embedded in the stream of consciousness, and our karma, our good and bad deeds, our unwholesome and wholesome deeds. And so to prepare ourselves for a fortunate death, we should make the effort to avoid unwholesome deeds, to cultivate good and wholesome deeds, deeds rooted in generosity, kindness towards others. Cultivate the Buddha's noble path. And cultivate these persistently, diligently, so that our consciousness, the stream of consciousness, will move on to a fortunate rebirth. Okay, now we bring all the major topics together. First, death, our death, my death. is absolutely certain, unavoidable, inescapable. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." We can say, "I am, therefore I will die." So first, death is absolutely certain and inescapable. My death. Second, the arrival of death is utterly uncertain, unpredictable, unforeseeable with regard to time, place, and cause. Therefore, I must be prepared, even now. Third, when death arrives, I must go, abandoning everything. Possessions, dear ones, and this body with my personal identity. And fourth main topic, the only thing that follows me along when I die are my mental dispositions and my karma. So therefore, I must avoid all unwholesome deeds, cultivate wholesome deeds, train to remove the defilements, and train to cultivate good qualities. Okay, now come back to your breathing or your awareness simply of your body. And just sit in quiet mindfulness for a few moments, attentive to the body. Okay, now you can just gently open your eyes, relax. You could rub your face, forehead, top of the head, back of the head, neck, back of the neck, then down the lower back to the buttocks, thighs, knees, shins, ankles, feet, toes. Oh, I never would have thought the meditation on death would be so popular. Okay, any questions about practical questions? Yeah. Maybe take this wireless microphone.
This is more philosophical than practical, but you spoke of rebirth, but in Buddhism I understand that there's no soul, so what is it that's reborn?
Okay, I don't want to really get into lengthy expositions on philosophical issues, so I'll just say that there's no individual self retaining its identity that's reborn, but there is an ever-changing stream of consciousness, process of consciousness, which is always arising, passing away, arising, passing away, and that stream of consciousness is what continues into the next life. And the stream of consciousness preserves what I call the mental dispositions, the sort of habit formations, the interests, inclinations, aptitudes, and so on, as well as the karmic formations that we create in this life.
Thank you, Bhante.
This is along the same line, so I apologize if it's too philosophical, but how is what you just mentioned, the mental dispositions, habit energies, and karma, different from personality?
Repeat the question.
So these things you just mentioned, the habit energies, mental dispositions, how do those differ from personality, which we do leave behind?
Okay, I would say that these are actually the threads that make up personality. And so those threads, I would say, continue into the next life, or continue from life to life. Though the personality, in the sense, what I mean, like our sense of individual identity, like I have this particular personality, or I am this particular person that I identify. I am Bhikkhu Bodhi. You are Anne, that's your name? Annette? Anne? Okay, so that is what I mean, like the person, that is what comes to an end at death. But those tendencies, are what continues on. So we could see this, maybe the more conspicuous example would be somebody like Mozart. At the age of 5 already, he could compose musical compositions. There have been cases of children, similar, like 7 years old, who could pick up multiple languages. There was somebody at the age of 7 or 8, who became like a biblical scholar. So how is this possible? I would say that, I can't say that this is irrefutable proof, but from a Buddhist point of view, it shows that there are tendencies that are continuing on from previous life. Any other questions? Particularly practical questions.
Yes, hi. Are there certain images that would allow us to visualize death better, such as, for example, visualizing myself lying down in a hospital bed and dying, or?
One could do that, yeah. There's no problem with that.
There's no problem.
Yeah. I'm just sort of been using the schema that I developed over several years. Particularly, I'm not ready to go yet. I'm not ready to go. One could use whatever reinforces in one's own mind the idea of death and the consequences of our mortality. So, any other practical questions? Okay, then at this point we can, I don't know if you want to go for lunch now. Okay, we can break for lunch, and then we come back at 1 o'clock for the walking meditation. And I say if anybody wants to reinforce the meditation on death during the lunch period or after the lunch before 1 o'clock, you can take a little walk down, wear a sun hat or something, to the 1,000 Lotus Terrace and go up and look at the boxes and look at the dates, where you see the dates of birth and death, and it will really reinforce the idea, the theme of how unpredictable human lifespan is, how we can never foresee how long anyone is going to live. Okay, so let us end with the 3 half bows to the Buddha.
Pausa, Bande.